Hello and welcome back to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben,
And I'm Chris.
I'm Swizz.
and thank you for joining us. It is round two done and dusted. Prices are about to change, ladies and gentlemen, after this week. So everyone is getting in early, getting their Christmas presents wrapped and bowed and tied off, using those boosts so that way our teams are no longer unique. Stuff you all and stay off our setters. We were just chatting. Chris, how are you today?
Oh yeah, going great actually. I'm probably the most tired I've ever been in a single day. But I'm powering through. The old 4 month sleep regression and teething it really took its course last night. But other than that, I'm fantastic, guys. Let's go.
Jeez, you mean you're actually getting put to work for once in your life? Swizz,
Yeah.
how are
Yeah,
you this evening?
mate. Most people saw my Twitter rant this morning about Ticketmaster, but finally got that solved. So I've calmed down now. I'm happy. I'm smiling. Huge shout out to our man Bryce Mitchell for everything he did with the projections over the weekend. Doesn't get enough credit, so I was chatting to him and said, "Yeah, I'll definitely give him a shout out. Definitely send him some love because it takes a lot of work to do all the projections he does, and makes our life easier." So yeah, massive shout out to Bryce.
Yeah, go check out Bryce Mitchell if you haven't already. I think JP as well, like Callahan. It's just absolutely outstanding information there. So, look, the purpose for today is we're going to go probably segment by segment, looking at some of the key issues, particularly in Supercoach before the prices change. So, going through and looking at, well, let's look at the rookies. Are they a must-have? Are they kind of like 50-50 where, yes, you could get them in, but maybe if you've already got them, great, but I wouldn't go out of your way to get them. And then those that we're probably looking at passing on. So that's the kind of format where we sort of do a little bit of a vote even on which ones, like yes, 50-50 or nay. So that way you can kind of at least round out, there's three of us to get a holistic view on that format. And then we'll work the same way through with mid prices and who's a must-have in the same kind of process, and then some footy chat, looking at premiums, who you should bring in, who you should get out, and all those hot topics as well for this round. Before we move on, the SC Insider 100, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Also, all the audio platforms as well, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, you name it. And on the YouTube, just search Supercoach Insider, like, subscribe, get amongst all that content. And speaking of content, something that some of you don't know, and you must be hiding behind a bush, must have been one of those people that didn't rate Set a Goat at all because you have no idea what's happening in the world. But we do our team by team stuff each week. It's individual. So if you like what Chris is putting out in the universe and you like his team and want to track his progress through the season, then go check it out. YouTube. So Supercoach Insider, Chris will do a weekly team reveal. Swizz will do a weekly team reveal. And I, apart from last week, will do a weekly team reveal as well. And the key is that we look at different strategies. We talk about our own team. You might look, hey, my team's quite similar. I like what Chris is thinking for the VC, the Cs, who's in, who's out, what changes I'm looking to make. And it's probably the most individual feedback and live progression you could probably get from us. And it's only on YouTube. Swizz.
Yeah, I do a bit more Q&A as well with the public, so definitely hit up our Supercoach Insider 100 on Twitter or Swizz26, and I will try to get around to your questions. I'm going to try to get a few guests on as well throughout the season to answer some questions too.
Oh, guess as well. I like this. Swizz is becoming like the man down under. He's just underrated, but everywhere.
How do you find the time between winning community awards and
It was.
being
I tell you what, I appreciate that. It's coach of the year in cricket in Victoria here for cricket. So really do appreciate that. That was really not expected. So shout out for that and the under 18 girls, the ladies seconds, and also acknowledge for I think it was the under 12s with Parkfield and Silverton the previous season. So yeah, really proud of just not for myself, but the team and the club. Like our club's a brilliant club down here at Noble Park. So yeah, no, I'm really proud, and it just continues to put us further on the map.
Wow, is it like the year of Swizz with the other
Yeah,
awards, that award, and then you got to go to the Supercoach Insider. So the Supercoach, was it the
Launch,
initial
hung
the
out with the
event
Herald
as
Sun boys
well?
afterwards, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. It is good,
Oh,
and I better give another shout out. Pete from O'Brien's Real Estate, who actually sponsors our club. Massive Supercoach man, follows us. He'll probably be listening to this pod once we put it up. He was just over at my house before, came over and talked Supercoach because we were talking about real estate and a few other things. But yeah, no, it was good to have him over. And I love when people pop around and just want to talk Supercoach. It's fantastic. So yeah, good Tiger man there, Pete.
oh, can't give
If
a
you're
good man down. I was
selling your
about to say,
house, if you're in Melbourne and you're selling your house, O'Brien's Real Estate, go and talk to Pete. Tell him that we sent you too. Yeah.
And do we get a kickback for that?
I
Because
get
I'm all about
my
the
my club
commish.
gets a kickback, so that
Yeah,
looks
when he
after
gets a,
us. It
when he gets
does.
enough houses, we can finally
Yeah.
get a
Well,
hotel.
that would be good, wouldn't it? If anybody wants to donate us a
um,
house or something.
we digress. So let's go into the format. Let's get into the real nitty gritty, and it doesn't start much easier when we look at the number one player that you must have. And I don't believe he's only in 74% of sides because there's 26% Muppets or bots out there. Chat GDP. Was it Chat
GPT?
GDP? Yeah, whatever it
GPT.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I need it. I need
Great
it.
South Park episode too about that.
Oh, is
It
it
just came
really?
out. Just came out.
I need AI just to get my bloody things right. So Harry Sheasel, 198,000. He is a negative break even of 116. So negative 116 break even. Absolutely ridiculous, his form line in that defensive line. So the way I see it, there's so much money to be had. He's going to be defender forward status in a few weeks' time or in a month's time. The only thing that I could see and envision stopping him would be Aaron Hall coming back into that side.
Mhm.
But why would they play him? Like when you have a brand new player absolutely tearing up and you've won 2 out of 2, I say Aaron Hall who? Swizz, what do you think on Shees?
Oh, mate, I can't believe he's not in 100% anyway. I think maybe you just wanted to see that for whatever reason, second week of data, or you don't like trading first week, which I'm always fine with because that's always been my mantra. But if you don't have him, that's just your number one get, and doesn't matter who it. If you've got Callahan or it really anyway, you're just moving heaven and earth to put Buddy Sheasel on your side. The kid's an absolute jet. That's so well done to North, and he looks like an absolute 10, 12-year player, superstar for them.
He does,
Yeah,
Chris.
must have.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple. I don't need to say anything
Simple.
else.
No,
That's
I don't
all it
need
needs
to.
to
So
be
yeah,
said.
must have. Swizz
Yeah,
must have. Chris must
yeah.
have. Easy, easy, easy.
Lock
You got
it
the
in.
next one, Swizz. It's your friend.
That'd be Chandler, and that K Chandler, the big one for Melbourne. So this is where it's now. He's an interesting discussion because played very well again. The scoring is not the problem here. Melbourne obviously going to get even the great thing was it was even a loss and he still scored well. But we're expecting Melbourne to win a lot more games than what they lose. He's a forward. He's going to be able to get on and kick the goals and that, and not just kick goals, but be involved in scoring passages, which is obviously always gold for Supercoach. But the big thing for him is his job security. Now we know Melbourne have some players still out. Now Gawn is now going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, so that's one less player, but it's a different kind of role unless Melbourne want to restructure and just have the one tall um, and kind of restructure their forward line. But it's all about when Cozzy Pickett comes back in and how that affects him. And does Cozzy Pickett come straight into that midfield? Does he go back and play in that more forward role? Does Chandler get bumped back as sub? So there are some questions there about what's Chandler's role going forward. For the short term, he's definitely playing this week. We hope he plays well enough so he gets another week. So what are we talking about? I think this week he's probably looking at about 60K price rise. So we know we're going to get one decent price rise out of him. Just the question is, do we get the second, third, fourth? So it's not just 60K, it becomes 150K. And that's the issue with him.
Yeah. So with me, he's a 50-50. I don't know if he's must have. I think that he's the one that you'd like to have if you've got. It's almost like a luxury rookie correction because of this. Now, having said that, I look at it 2 ways. I go, okay, I don't if I get him and he's dropped, well, okay, I've made a little bit of money, whatever. It's probably going to be quick cash, and I can potentially swing him out to someone else or whatever it might be. If I get him and he doesn't get dropped and he ends up staying in the side for 4 or 5 weeks, everyone else who's got him is now well above you in terms of cash gen, and he's a guy that can absolutely burn you. So he's more of I know he's only in 20% of teams right now, but I do obviously think that will jump up the end of this week. And so I want to be on I don't mind if I have to trade him out train. So for me, I'm getting him, but I can understand that he's not a super priority to get in. He's more of a luxury trade if he's like your last one that you need to get out of there. Ben.
Yeah, so Chris, you've actually changed. Now, I equate this one similarly to when you passed on Stack at Richmond a
Yeah,
few years ago and you hated
exactly
it.
that way.
Last year, you
Yep.
waited on Martin going, oh, Martin. And then you're like, oh, I have to bring him in. And he's just jump in price. Now, if he's named this week, now, Swizz, the break, so as in 59,000 is the projected price
Projected cash.
rise.
So his break even's
But
minus 94. Yeah.
but that's with a projected score of 37. He
Yeah.
goes up 60K.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely ridiculous. If they win this week and they should, and he plays well, like I'm hoping he does, they play West Coast next week. Now,
Yeah,
for
but
me,
this
that's a
week
big enough
it's
gamble.
this week it's
Yeah,
Sydney. So I can
that's
understand the
okay.
lower projection. That's my only issue with it. Like,
It's a rookie, though. Rookies are always projected lower.
oh, I know,
It's
but the fact
stupid.
that he's playing Sydney small forward, Sydney obviously a much better team than most others running around. You could see Chandler possibly having a 40 game. That is the possibility there. If he was playing the West Coast from Essendon and the other games coming up, yeah, you can see him going back to 70, no problem. So I just think there is some doubt about the scoring this week just because they're playing the Swans.
Yeah, I agree. There is doubt there, and you don't have to go out of your way to get him.
But it's
The
still
But
way
again,
that
60K.
but
Yes, he's
money
a small
this week,
forward, but just on that, the way that he scores is not necessarily like that.
Hmm.
He gets high up the ground. He's not one of the small forwards that sits inside 450 waiting for the ball to drop so that he can jump on and snap a goal. He's a high possession, get outside the 50 type of small forward. So I don't think that's as. I think because of that, his scoring is not as up and down
yeah, it
or
doesn't
as
fluctuate like
yeah,
Davey would, or Davey's on
exactly.
40 points at halftime and then does
40
nothing
points
and
at full
gets
time, and he's
But
done
yeah,
it
yeah.
twice
he
now,
didn't
2 weeks in
get
a row.
that much of the ball. The thing that helps him, he does get up, as you said, for the marks. Like he can be that
Mm.
link up player. So that's where he's probably scoring is, but he's not a huge possession guy. And that, yeah, as I said, only the 12 touches, but did kick
That's huge
that
for a
goal.
small forward.
Well,
Yeah.
it probably is a huge for a
That's what
small
I
forward,
mean.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, compared to what some other players would, it's not a huge. And that's what I was saying. Just because of the matchup this week, it's interesting. But even with a 40, he's making 60,000. Benny.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's a case of I'm happy to take that risk, hope to get 2 games out of him at least at a minimum. And if he doesn't play this one, as long as he's not sub, which could really kill it, and that would suck absolutely.
Yep.
But I'm thinking 100K minimum is on offer. And at this point, based on some of these players that we're looking to get out of our side, I will take that money and hope for the best. And if it's not so great, then I'll just trade out and take my 100 and run. And I think it's pretty much where I'm sitting. So we're all in a yes for
Uh,
Chandler.
well, I'm
You're a
50-50
50-50-ish.
because I just think that he's
It's a
he's
not must
only
have.
yeah. So like, if you've got other problems in your team, he's not one that I'm pushing ahead of others. Like if you need to restructure or do anything like that,
Yep.
I'm not pushing him in front. I'm saying if you can restructure with 2 trades and the third trade's your rookie correction, that's what I would be doing. He's the number one rookie correction, but I don't think that unless of course you don't have Sheasel, but I mean
Yeah. Everyone does.
74% teams, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I'm like Chris. I'm on the fence as well because a lot of people are probably thinking either Davey or Fergus Green, unless there's got some other like terrible rookie that you started off with that isn't scoring in that. But if you're thinking Fergus Green could be one of those real slow burns to
Well, we'll
100,
touch on Fergus Green like
and we will.
later, I guess.
But
Yeah.
but just as the trade out target that probably people are looking at, there's guys that'll be probably slow burns, but have got really good job security. And do you want the kind of quicker cash? But there's risks involved with both, and that's so.
See, I tried to be coy, Swizz. I said, trade out targets, no name drops, and Swizz just comes out, name
Yeah,
drop.
That's
Real
He really
estate,
did.
name drop.
Yeah, I know. But it's hard.
Okay.
It's hard not to put him next to one of those guys because, outside of
That's what makes people
maybe
stick
Chesser,
around.
but
You want
if
to
you're
find
like
out?
yeah,
You stick around. You want to
you
find
stick
out? You
around.
stick
That's
around.
right.
That's pretty much how we're
You
running
gotta
this ship
So
today.
I'm on the
you
I'm
got
on
to
the
kill him
fence.
with
I'm
Antissa.
Okay.
exactly
Yeah.
like Chris.
Yeah, if you've got Gorn, you've got say other options that need fixing, then definitely
Yep.
fix that. And poor Clarkey as well. I think he's got Bailey Dale sputting up a
Oh
storm with
no.
Max Gorn. I was like,
Mm.
yeah, you might want to fix those first. So,
Yeah.
Chris, you got the next one?
Oh wow. Completely. Yeah. Oh, so Connor McKenna.
Lions.
Yeah.
So Connor McKenna is someone that I jumped on last week. He has a break even also of -76. So the only reason why it's actually -76 is obviously his elevated price is at 167K. Now, the reason I think he's an absolute must-have is because most defenses are pretty weak. They're running generally 2 or 3 premiums in absolute most, and there's not many running mid-prices anymore. I mean, I think that if you want to call, say, Liam Jones a mid-pricer, he's probably the only one that people are running at the moment, or say Stocker, or got someone like that at say a D4. Who are the other guys? There's not really much other reliable scoring in that defense, but he's now proved in back-to-back weeks that he can go. Yeah, he's got 93 and 78. He's potentially the best scoring rookie. Jinby might have something to say about that, of course, in further games, but at this stage, he's proven to be the best scoring rookie. We are still a little bit iffy on his long-term job security, but so far, if he's playing that well, he's not getting dropped. So right now, I'm saying he's a must-have, and I think that he's probably one that you would restructure around because he's going to make enough cash, and he's got the potential to burn you. So yeah, definitely must-have for me. What about you, Ben?
Um, yeah, I think there's definitely value in him. If I don't have him, I'd be liking to get him in. I wouldn't say it's an absolute must, certainty, lock and load kind of must have sort of player, but I would definitely be kind of leaning towards that 80 to 90%. Like you definitely should have this player. The other thing to note with me is like dogs, Collingwood generally play quite a fast style, and especially dogs with their lack of defensive pressure. It's just coming rebounding back in with their tall forward line. I could see him really telling up, and Collingwood as well with their fast
Mhm.
movement and play style. Someone like McKenna could really flourish. And then after that, you actually have North and GWS, and it's like, well, once he hits the ground in their forward line, I also see someone like McKenna could actually chip away and get so a lot of connective play there. Plus, he's getting more confident each week that he's playing.
Yep,
Every
I've seen
game he
that.
plays, he looks like he's actually quite damaging and linking up, and other players are having more faith in him and his abilities, and they're just letting him go. So I definitely like him. It's an easy option to at least buy you until round 6 until you put a whole bunch of your other players back in the defensive line. And I think he's a good option. I'm glad I started him. Thanks to you, Swizz. Any
No
thoughts
problem.
on McKenna? Are you
For
going all
somebody
in
who was
or?
so negative on McKenna all preseason and
Yeah.
that, and for me to then
Oh,
to get
as in I
then
thought
no,
I
no, no,
thought
that
there was
was
a role
me.
for
That
one.
was me, and
Oh,
then to come
I
on and
think we're all
convince,
the same boat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then jump on and then convince you on it, mate. Yeah, I actually, yeah, again with Chris on this, I think he's more must have than Chandler, just because of the way everyone's structuring their back line. So and there's potential options there, especially with we'll talk like your Chesser and kind of that you can actually move around to put him in, if you don't have him. So I think he's definitely an option.
it doesn't take me much convincing to get a handcuff going there, Swizz.
Yeah, yeah,
The old
and that's the thing
Wilmots.
too. Like he's 100% lock if you do have Wilmot. Like
Yep.
that's just a no brainer there.
It reminds me
Yep.
of the Bash brothers from the old what do you call it? The
Mighty
Mighty
Ducks.
Ducks.
Mighty
Yeah, the
Ducks,
Bash
Champions.
brothers.
yes. What a
Yeah.
great movie.
The old
Great
Bash
movie.
brothers. So yeah, pretty much I think it's yes, yes, and yes if you can get them in
Yep.
for that one. Easy. Ruben Jinby, the next one is 71% owned, so I think this is going to be the easiest thing in the world.
Yep. Lock,
Now,
lock, lock.
yeah, lock, lock, lock. And I think the good thing about him is that well, averaging 80, but showing some real good talent and good patches. Now we're not going to always get consistency with young players, but at this current point, it's like easily on field, and you just ride that train until the break even goes real high, Chris.
Yeah, the only concerns obviously is if his role changes once Yo returns. But that the coach came out today and said, yeah, we're not rushing Yo back because he's got a history of calf issues, and if we rush him back and he does another one, then we're just back in square one. So it looks like he's probably got the best short-term job role of basically all the rookies outside of say probably your mid rookies. They're the guy that can, on a given week, can actually probably knock out a ton. He's only really hasn't done it because he hasn't got enough of the ball, but he tackles well enough. Obviously, puts enough pressure on the ball. He scores in multiple ways. If he has a game where he pumps out 20 disposals, that's probably enough for him to ton up. So, yeah, definitely one that if you don't have, you absolutely must have.
Speaking of ones we probably don't have, and Swizz, will pass to you here. We got Jack Buckley
Mm.
first up, and then Noah Long will pass to you, Chris. Not as high ownership. Now, when we're talking about that, so we've got Buckley's only 1.9% owned. So he's owned by Buckley All. And then Noah Long definitely is challenging probably your Davey, who's at a very high percentage of 64%. But Noah Long's a little bit creeper, the 24%. So we'll start with Buckley Swizz. Now, he had some really good scores to start this season. He's 205,000 though, so he's similarly to some of those more expensive options. However, he did knock out a couple of very decent scores with a 76 and an 99, sorry. So the second round high score, Swizz. What do you think about Buckles?
Yeah, like Grimo's been talking to me about him huge. Like he's massive on him. The good thing is like he's 25 years old, so it's not like a proper rookie here where we're talking like a first year 18-year-old kind of player. The 99 was massively helped because, Whitfield being out of the team. So that does, change the bit of the structure down there. Kind of those weird height defenders, 193. So he's not your normal rebound, but he's not your normal lockdown defender either. He's kind of your Jack Gunston, but in reverse, but in defense. So I don't know if that's kind of freeing him up a little bit to do some more intercept markings, like sort of maybe in that little like where Himmelberg was, because they've moved him forward now, and that's kind of given that sort of the third defender playing down there who can kind of zone off. It's a hard one because I'm sure we've got other issues in our teams and that, and the Giants still have 3 weekish games, so you think there might be some defense. I think they've got the Hawks maybe the following week. So again, there's a chance that he if he's playing that intercept role, he could definitely take some intercept marks. But I think the hard thing is because of that higher price of being 200K, and there's other issues, well, other players that people are looking at, and we've already talked about Chandler. Um, it's hard to then go, okay, we're going to get this 205K rookie who we don't know what his job security is kind of going to be, in 2, 3, 4 weeks time. So that's just, I'd love to say yes, and I know a couple of people, as I said, Grimo and a couple others I've talked to, are saying, yeah, no, this is the point of difference I'm looking at. But yeah, it's hard for me to be, sold on him, Benny.
Um, Chris, do you think that there's enough points to go around in that defensive line? Because at any week I could see, like Ash, Whitfield, and even Taylor has had a pretty off few
Yeah, same
weeks there
Taylor.
as well. So when he starts to get it firing, and then you've
And
got
Nick Haynes.
Haynes as well, who's
Yeah.
actually been quite impressive as well. I don't know if there's enough points to go around for a guy who is 200,000. Like, oh, granted, done well. But again, am I looking at bringing in some guy I've never heard about until this week based on, what some great scores is? What's some great
So,
scores?
I mean, how are you getting him? Are you going Liam Jones down to him for 20 grand? What does that get you? Like, it'd be a very niche, team that would be able to afford getting him in anyway. And I just don't see the point. Like, you kind of run yourself into a hole if he goes bad because there's only 1.9% that have him. So to me, it just seems like way too high a risk for way too little reward. And you got to also remember we've got 2 guys in the 200K bracket coming in next week in defense. So are we looking at Bose? Are we looking at Crozier? You can't trade him in this week and then be like, oh, I'm going to trade him out next week to Bose or Crozier. So no, he's an absolute no for me.
We also
And he
call that
didn't
the Callahan. People
Yeah.
trade him in and then go, oh, there's better options over here. I'm
he
going
didn't
over
play
here.
the preseason game either, which is always, makes me consider why. Like, how he's literally been picked from thin air. And as you said, he's been scoring well, but why did he score well last week? Well, half the Giants team was out, and they actually got beaten up by West Coast.
Hmm.
So does that change this week? Is they, a couple? Well, we've talked about Carlton, potentially they might see a little bit more ball down there, but how many of their ins are in? But then the following weeks, Essendon and Hawthorn. Well, the Hawthorn doesn't have a defence, so does that actually help him and free him up, or is it the opposite where we saw the first week, where when we were talking about Ridley and Redmond pretty well being bored, is he just not going to see any ball there? And the guys that will see the ball are you guys like Ash and Whitfield who can at least get up to the ground. So by then, after 5 weeks, all the Giants could be back and he could be out of the side. Ben?
Yeah, Buckley's chance. I got a no on that one too, Chris.
Yeah.
So what's that? Are you a no, Swizz? A hard out, or are you
Yeah,
50
I'm a 5% yes. If you have everything right with your side, and that's where I think like someone like a Grimo is, he's just like everything's right. I've got the option to trade one player. Here's a point of difference, but it's it's a 95% no.
Well, I'm glad I only asked for a one-word response then,
Yeah,
Swizz.
sorry, mate. No, I'll just go no. There you go. Straight out no.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I
No,
bought a stub at the cinema and ended up with the Titanic.
It's like everything. It depends where you are and where you're ranked and what's your issues.
Yeah,
But for me,
that
it's
makes
a no.
sense.
But it just, it doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
and I
I
think
think
Chris
he was
nailed it as
joking,
far
Swizz.
as
Like,
Yeah, I know he
it's
was.
okay. You can just pipe
No,
down,
fuck
Chuck.
him. Defend myself.
it's okay. Chris, Longy.
No long.
Chris, no, a long way.
So I'm not going to put a one-word answer into this because I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. So the first thing is Noah Long, the player. Week 1, I was ready to drop him straight away. I had Chesser and Long, and it was like probably halfway through the third quarter, and I was like poking them both with sticks, saying, "Do
Mm.
something."
Mm.
Right. And then the game started to get close, and Long was in everything. And he managed to get to that 60 from like a score of like 18 at like, uh, halfway through that third quarter. So he did get a goal. He was applying pressure, tackles in the forward line, and all of a sudden the game shifted. Now the second game, um, he only got 7 touches and 4 tackles, but managed to get 63. Didn't score a goal. So there's two ways to think about that. First of all, he has multiple ways of scoring because he's not just a goal kicking forward, and he's able to hit that 60 mark without kicking a goal. That's a great sign. However, we also got to have a look at their fixture. And if you look at West Coast fixture, they've just played North and GWS, which are probably two of the easiest games they'll have all year. They have Freo this week, which is semi-easy, but then they have Melbourne, Geelong, Port, Carlton, and Richmond all in a row. So in terms of being a money-making cash cow, big fat no. So if I have him and I'm not happy I have him, I would suggest probably staying away if you are trying to transition to him. I don't see the point in doing that. But you guys obviously can let us know what you think.
Yeah,
Ben.
so I didn't bring him in particularly for that fixture reason, and I didn't want to be tempted by someone who might have had a good couple of rounds, knowing that they had a really tough fixture. Now, it could definitely work out. If you've already got him, I think you definitely would hold him over some other people in your
Yeah.
team. And what I did like about him is that he was the one to actually look to drive them forward. Now, West Coast actually, there's a whole lot of stats on how they actually improve their gameplay in order to win, as far as, speed meters gain, like the whole works on, ground ball gets and how they were ranked higher than they have been in years. And I think he was actually a really key part of that. I know the AFL draft expert is actually really big on this guy. I actually recommended I picked him up in Keeper League quite late because he is someone who has the capacity to sort of get up into that midfield a little bit as well, not just that small forward, as you said. And there's definitely, I think, room for someone like that in their team. I think at one point, I think it was Sheed was there like, oh, give me the cheap handball, bro. I want my easy disposal and just kind of hanging back off the pack. And Long was like, nah, mate, and just burnt his opponent and just ran forward, kicked it inside 50, and then they end up kicking a goal. And
To
he's
be
like,
fair,
nah,
if he
mate.
handballs it to Sheed, it's just going to be a turnover anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. So he knows better. This guy played 2 games and already knows better than to give it to the turnover merchant.
he's watched the tape.
So for me, I'm 50-50. If you have options and you have, let's say you have like Radaglia on field in your forward line, you're really trying to free up cash and you have massive issues where Chandler's already in your side, or you need an extra forward, then I think he probably kind of fights for Davey for me. And I just think he has, I think, probably a little bit better perspective based on the additional way you score as well as the points on board. Not that it'll continue, tough run, but points on board more than I think Davey, who stalled out and I think will stall out and drop a 30 at some point, Swizz.
I'm a huge no on him. The weeks 1 and 2, he was the number 2 player at West Coast for the biggest gap between AFL fantasy points and Supercoach points. And the reason for that, week 1 kicked an important goal late that put West Coast right back in the game. And second week, some of his touches were vital when West Coast were, the game was close and then they were, heading apart. So he's very influential, and obviously Supercoach likes those, big moments, and that's where and especially when you got a game like West Coast GWS where there's not a lot of people taking up the normal points, no Kelly Whitfield out there. So, you're missing a couple 100 points straight off the norm. So those big moments and that, they're going to wait. And that's what's happened for him. So where he's actually scored like 34 and 38 in Dream Team, he's been bumped up to those 63s in Supercoach. And I don't see him getting those big moments against teams like Melbourne and Geelong and that, and really see him probably going back to like the 25-30 because they're not going to be close enough for him to kick that important goal or have that important moment.
All right. You heard it. Looks like a pretty much nearly a triple no. And Swizz dropping it long on long to finish out the next one. Constable is one that could definitely get you into lockup, boys. Constable. 123,000, owned by 68%. So I think this is a real simple one as well. I don't know if
Ben,
you're
do you
going
want to swap these two around? I'll do Constable, you do Wilmot. You know more about Darcy than what I do, and I was actually watching the game.
Or
No,
I
you
could
can.
just do a double
Yeah, you
and
could
the
do.
old menage
Yeah.
a trois on the Constable. Now, I think Constable's a simple one we could probably pass on really to begin with anyway. Highly, highly owned.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm going out of my way with a few. So you've already had Weller came back in and took some of his kickouts.
of course.
You've got, I can't remember who the other son is that's coming back in. It's
Will
Will
Powell.
Powell.
Powell. So that's going to possibly impact it. So if you don't have him, I probably wouldn't recommend bringing him in. If you have him, then obviously you just hold because he's scoring well enough and getting enough disposals and used it a little bit better. But I wasn't happy that his role did shift slightly. Any other thing to add on Constable, boys?
Yeah, you're 100% right about that um, defensive switch up there. So it was Waller every time. The player not the only they were looking for, but yeah, for the kickouts. There's still a real issue of his disposal efficiency. He's I think it was -14 on the weekend from fantasy to Supercoach. So clearly getting the ball. If you play that game, if you play Dream Team or fantasy, and you don't have him, probably look at that because yeah, he's seems to find the ball no problems. But yeah, the week before it was 87 to 56 Supercoach. He absolutely butchers that ball, and that's not actually that's probably a little harsh on him, but it's also they don't have just the way the Gold Coast play. They don't chip the ball round like other teams do through the defense. They try to go fast through the midfield, and unless Kings actually starts getting a bit more competitive up the ground, they don't actually have the targets. They kick to packs and the ball gets turned over and that's probably a bit of Constable's issue there. So not only is his role going to get worse and worse with Powell coming in, but unless Gold Coast completely change their game plan coming out defense, which is not going to happen, I don't see him, able to convert those scores to become 80s and 90s, which would make him a lock.
Yeah. So if you don't have him, don't get him in. And I think that's pretty much that part. Chris doing his best impersonation of Ross from Friends. He's doing the old tone it down, a few notches on the camera screen. Not only is he divorced twice, nearly 3 times on Ross, but he's doing the hand gestures on camera as well, Chris. So we love you
I
for
just would
that.
like us to pivot to a new player because that guy's
Yeah.
68% owned. So I don't see the point in talking about him. Let's go.
Chris
Wilmot.
did it. Chris checked his phone there. I saw anything happening on the on the phone screen. So the next one is Wilmot, which we will get into. 53% owned. Now, I think he has been probably quite impressive. I still see some fluctuations in his scores though. So when we have a look through, first round not as impressive with a 51. Last week a bit better with a 68. I think he's very valuable, hard running type of player. That they definitely value. So they won and they got a 68. I think there's going to be probably that fluctuation depending on how Brisbane play. Because if Brisbane get the ball and they use the overlap and then they run and spread, etc., then I think they're going to link up through him more and he'll be very valuable. Whereas on a wing, if it doesn't come through your wing, no good. If the other team has the ball, then you're just chasing someone else down the wing 100 meters and following their tail rather than you actually having the ball yourself. So I think there will be that fluctuations. I'm kind of 50-50. If you have other stuff there, but generally speaking, 50% of the comp have Wilmot. I don't know if I'd be going out of my way to get him because I think that there's probably other room to move or other mid prices in that defensive line that are probably about to emerge, and I'd rather wait and spend my money on them. Chris.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going out of my way to get him. Pretty simple no for me, mainly because of role. Obviously, Colmore wasn't there this week. He comes back. He had a much more favourable role this week and played very well in that role, but he's not going to get that next week, so there's no point in chasing that. So yeah, if you don't have him, don't worry about him.
Swizz, do you concur?
I concur.
There you go. That was like, what is it? The 50.
No.
Catch me if you can. Catch me if you can.
It was on the other night, and that it's like, why didn't I concur?
Yeah, such a good movie.
Great movie.
Underrated. Chris, you've seen that, yeah? You're
Catch
a
Me If
movie
You
guy.
Can. It's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you fucking laugh harder then?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
Okay,
just trying to move through and I'm trying to speed up the process here.
No,
not
well,
make it a 3-hour pod.
We're going to do lines. Catch me if you can.
Okay, well, regrettably, we're going to pass to Swizz for Caminiti now because you know the most about this guy. And he's 102,000, which is the big appeal. He's $102,000 forward. It's a joke, Chris. But would you be bringing him in? Because I don't know enough about this guy, and he has scored well. Swizz.
If we didn't have Chandler, then it would be a yes. But the problem that Chandler's there, he's probably got a little bit more better job security because St Kilda players are just falling away like anything at the moment, aren't they? Do they have any fit players for the weekend? Like absolutely ridiculous what's happening down there. So look good. The 9 marks was impressive, but that Bulldogs defense is absolutely a disgrace at the moment. So that probably did boost his score. Bombers this week again. The problem is the Bombers actually have a proper defense. Ridley's pro, your Redmonds and that. Zerk Thatcher out hurts a bit, but Kelly's a good lockdown defender, so he's going to probably find it a little bit more harder. For that, I'm trying to think who the Saints have the week after.
Gold Coast and then Collingwood.
Yeah, so
Gold
then you
Coast, I
get
don't think is too bad. It's when I get into
yeah,
Collingwood,
then you get
Carlton,
into
Port
the sort of
Adelaide.
Collingwood Carlton. So he's just because their injuries, job security is actually looking quite good. It's just always going to be the scoring, but can he take those sort of? He needs to take 6 to 10 marks and kick a couple of goals to be able, make us enough cash or score enough points to make us enough cash. And I don't think that's going to be there for the next 3-4 weeks.
I think it's the old 3 a.m. tempter. You've had a couple of drinks and everything looks quite rosy and there's a lot of potential on the horizon. But Saints have won 2 out of 2. And $102,000 forward, when you start to get into some better opponents, I don't think he's going to have that luxury and that scoring potential. And I'm pretty sure, even to quote the man himself, don't pick me in Supercoach. So I don't think he's kind of pushing the fact that I think he's done very well and serviceable, but I don't know if I'd be looking at him for the option, Chris.
Yeah, so I'm a 90-10 on this. And I'll explain why. But there is only one situation where I would say, okay, community is a go. And that's because if you need that extra 20K from Chandler to get to Dacos or Goulden or an absolute must-have premium, then I would do it. I'd pull that trigger and I'd just take the risk. But there is no point in jumping on that risk bandwagon when he might not even like get out of the 150,000. And then what are you doing? You're downgrading him for 20 grand. Like, nah.
Chris, you're like, I'll pull that trigger and I'll just blast to Palm Springs. And I do it. I do it again.
I do it again.
And I'd boost that. I'd use that boost and I'd just blast. Good old gone in 60 seconds. We're on movie night.
Dude, yeah,
boys.
I love.
Yeah, he's a ripper bloke. Great kid. We wish him all the best. But yeah, as you said, that's the only real reason you do it. Job security is fairly solid, but the scoring, he was the one. Go if you haven't seen it, go back and watch my interview with him on Centre Bounce, and he outlines why you don't pick him.
Yeah, but awesome that he's getting
evidence.
a gig. Awesome that he's getting a gig. Speaking of getting a gig, Will Ashcroft, obviously the rising star for the week. I don't think anything more needs to be said there. People jumped off him last week off his low performance. However, he still actually has jumped up 1.6% this week. So I think they've seen reason, and 2.2% overall. So up to nearly 80% ownership. So we'll move past that one. Cam McKenzie is also the other easy one in that midfield. Now, role did change a little bit more in this previous week. Speculation as to whether maybe, the opponents that he played, so Sydney maybe had some bigger bodied mids and you want to protect him from that. Looked much more impressive inside to get them first access. So I imagine whether it's a management issue or whether they've now kind of realized, hey, this guy's actually better off playing inside and let's get him inside and access to that ball. Because he averaged, 93 for the first game against Essendon, 52 against Sydney. Now, if there's any more of those 50s, it kind of really does stall and stagnate that growth. But I think round one, showed us enough glimpses that when this kid puts it all together, that there is definitely money to be had. Now, Chris, if you don't have him though, are you going there or are you trying to, I don't know why my voice went up. Are you going there or are you looking at, hey, maybe I'll just go Warple or someone else for points as well?
Well, it depends on what your structure is because, who do you have in your midfield if you don't have Cam McKenzie is the question. So if you've got Ashcroft at M8 and you've got a really stacked midfield, I'm not moving him. I'm not like moving heaven and earth to get him on my bench. I don't see the point in that. The problem is with him right now is role. So this week we had a huge change in CBAs. He dropped 25% CBAs. So if that's going to be the norm moving forward, then I can't imagine him averaging over 60. If he reaches back towards that 50% mark, which is where he should be, then sure, he can average anywhere between, say, 70 to 80. And then that's a must have. But we just don't have enough information right now to make that call. And I wouldn't be wanting to put him on your bench if that's the case. So far too expensive to be doing that, in my opinion. If you're rebalancing your team, so let's say you're taking out a mid, let's say it's a Kelly or, I don't know, someone who's injured or an underperforming guy. Let's say a Neil. Let's say you want to trade out a Neil and you're trying to rebalance your side, you don't have McKenzie, you go Neil to McKenzie, so he's on field in your midfield, and then you're redistributing that cash to Dacos or Jay-Z in center field and whatever it might be. That is a situation where I'd just go, yep, okay, McKenzie's one that you look at, but not to get on your bench.
Chris, get a grip of yourself, mate. That's twice you've name dropped Dacos first without Setagoat. Setagoat should be the first person you drop at every single instance, at every single opportunity. Or Zeeble, after the bet that we make, the amount that you haven't actually rubbed it in and dropped Zeebletown, and the fact that we own him and I own him,
we've actually smashed the mid prices, I reckon, like as a group. So yeah, pat on the back to all of us. So at least if I can't,
pat on the back for you two, I think
can't convince the community past 4%, but I can convince you two, and that's what counts.
You convinced me of a lot of things, Chris.
The annoying thing about McKenzie is that I played him over on field over Ashcroft this week, thinking, the Lions tough match against the D's midfield, and McKenzie, why would they drop his CBAs? And of course they drop his friggin' CBAs. I'm a no to bringing him in, and I'm more actually, the question I've been getting, is he a trade out target or to either make cash to go down to Chandler, or if you've got the money to get up to Warple or Setagoat, and that, do you go McKenzie to one of them? And I think that's a yes.
If you can get Setterfield or Setagoat or Warple, then it's probably a little bit more of that more. So I don't like downgrading him.
I'm not as much on that, but
yeah, who you're
McKenzie will. Yeah, well, and I also think McKenzie can still make 100,000 or more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right now, when they play North Melbourne, maybe they were saving him to have more chunk time against some junior midfielders per se. And then you've got Geelong, probably again, I guess older guys or younger ones turning over. GWS Adelaide. So I think there's still a lot of younger dynamics or inexperienced like mesh with some of these teams coming up that someone of his caliber could do really well before you go and play the Dogs, Fremantle, Melbourne, etc. I think there's probably a really nice 4-week window where he could make you 100 to 150. And I don't think Chandler's that much of a guarantee, so I would not be downgrading. But I feel your reservations where if I didn't have him, I'm kind of not feeling pressured. Like, do I really want to spend $180,000? Because then if I went and got Chandler instead this week, if I needed an upgrade, then at least that 60 grand I can throw somewhere and invest. And it's all about investing at this point.
The one thing is that I think his role does improve over time. But I do want to be on record here and say, you don't want to be on the end of I traded him to Warple and then their roles reversed and Cam McKenzie starts averaging 90 and Warple starts averaging 60. You would be furious. So I don't like that. I think there's other ways to do it that are probably better than trading out Cam McKenzie in that sort of situation, because it's more to me that Sam Mitchell did that because it's Sydney and he wanted a hardened midfield. He wanted someone bigger. He wanted Nash in there instead. That to me makes more sense. Obviously, this week they've got North, so that would probably shed a little bit more light. In a young, obviously midfield, they don't have Jai Simpkin this week either. So you'd imagine that it'd be LDU and then probably Phillips would probably go in there. That'd be a great little matchup for him. So yeah, we probably don't have enough information, and I'm not willing to ride that train out onto another station.
Speaking of another station,
Swizz. Stations of you. You go.
All aboard.
I was going to say, if you don't have McKenzie, if you don't have Sheasel, would you go McKenzie to Sheasel?
If that was my only option, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would. I'd probably go anyone to Sheasel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm just trying for the community to say, okay, because you're a no on McKenzie to Warple, and so I was just going through the options because people have thrown to me about Setterfield, Warple. I was just throwing Sheasel in there as well, and then Chandler. So we're a no, McKenzie down to Chandler. You're a no for Warple, McKenzie to Warple. Yes to, would you be a yes for McKenzie to Setterfield?
Oh yeah.
Anyone to Setterfield. That's pretty much the same as Sheasel.
I'm just giving it for the listeners who are asking.
If that's your only option, if that's your only option.
But I mean, even Warple this week dropped his CBAs to 54%. Yeah, I'm a little bit like, why? That's a 16% drop in a
pick number one.
Anyway, so we digress. So Philippou. So I'll start on Philippou, guys, because I actually am trading him out this week. Now it's not necessarily.
Yes, love it.
So a couple of things. So he's actually a 48% owned rookie. Now that's a lot more than what I thought was. I think in our small community. Not a lot of guys have Philippou, and they're looking to get him in. And the thing with his role is it's a shit role. He scored 3 goals and only got 59, and that's going to happen because he's a small forward essentially, or I would say medium forward. He's got all the talent in the world. That's not the issue. He's got the potential if his role would shift when they do get these forwards to come back, to be able to, if he gets more up the ground, to score a lot more. But right now, no. And I need 40K. And so I'm actually looking at going him down to Chandler, because he's actually on my bench. And so this is another consideration. He's on my bench. He's not on my field. So if he's on your field, you kind of need him because he's got great job security and a decent score. He's probably going to be around that sort of minimum 50 to 70 sort of range. But yeah, he's on my bench, so really he's just making money for me. In that sort of situation, I'm just going to go down to Chandler, who will probably in the short term make more money. I'm not sure about the long term. We'll have to see. And then I've actually invested to another guy to get more points on field in a different avenue. So yeah, that's for me. So for me, it's 50-50. Would I be bringing him in? I think other guys make more cash. So no, I wouldn't be bringing him in.
I'm a little bit upset because I actually did bring him in early based on the fact on what he did in round 1.
Mm.
And then they pretty much parked a nice little brand new edition Rolls Royce in the pocket.
Yep.
And whereas the week before that, he was getting he had 8 contested possessions and was scoring in other avenues and kicked 1 goal for an 80. I was like, wow, 1 goal, contested possessions. He's getting his own ball. But then it's hard for you to get your own ball when they're kicking to full forward and they're just forcing you to kind of wait for scraps on the side. It was not impressive. I thought he did well for what he had, but I also think it might be, if you've got him, you just kind of, I think, stick it and write it out unless you can do something fancy like Chris. And
it's got to be something that's beneficial. Again, it's cash to get to an upgrade. I'm using it to get to Warple on field. So Warple on field. To get Warple in. I'm actually 40K short of getting Warple, so that's why I'm doing it. So
yeah. But more points on field going for the overall master.
Exactly
so
right, and pushes another rookie off. So it's a huge points gain for what I'm doing. If you're not doing it to do that, then there's no point. You may as well just hold him and just accept the cash, Jen.
You heard Chris. At any opportunity, make sure you get a rookie off. Which was a summary of exactly what you said. That was like a direct quote.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Just don't get Constable off though, because you'll end up in handcuffs. Interesting. So really quick. So for me, I'm saying 50-50 because if you have him, I think you just kind of hold unless you're doing something fancy. Would you be going out of your way, Twiz?
I'm a no, and I'm with Chris. I'd actually be considering trading him out.
All right, there you go. 2 no's and a 50-50. So definitely outweighed on this one. No discussion on these next few, but a yes, no, or 50-50. Davey. Twiz.
To trade him in, no.
No.
And a 50-50 for me. Only again if it frees up cash and you don't have someone. Obviously I'm outweighed on this one again. Hollands, Swizz?
50-50. The kid's a running machine.
Chris?
Absolutely not. He's one bad game away from Lockie O'Brien replacing him.
And I'm also a no when
O'Brien's a spud, mate. He's not coming in for Hollands.
when Walsh is also back, I think it kind of changes the dynamic. So that's that one for me. Oscar Baker is heavily owned. Swizz?
Not to trade in, no, but he just sits at M10.
Chris?
Nope.
Same. Tom Cole, probably a no for an in, but I already have him. Tom Cole, 182,000, had a crapper of a week at 52. I'm guessing no's all around?
No,
too expensive.
The 52 hurt him because they didn't send the ball in defence.
Your mate Stocker, Swizz, I don't know if you have him, 4.3%.
There's more Christmas, mate, and that.
But 216,000 was a Jones replacement, now no longer. Anyone tempted?
It's
got to be considered.
I'm going to go with no because I kind of feel like I'd rather just wait on Crozier or Bose, and I don't think I can afford bringing him in without those two. He'd be in the same boat as what I said about Buckley, but I'd rather have Stocker over Buckley if you were looking at that.
Makes sense. And I think the last one for that one, so Lockie Cowan, would you be bringing him in?
No.
A little bit better this week, just gone?
I wouldn't be bringing him in, but I'm happy that I have him. Put it that way.
I do agree. Let's get more complicated. Now, Pedler, 5.8%. Didn't do very well on the weekend, just gone and scored a 36. Easy out. Yep.
Are
Cut
we
him.
going with trading out?
We'll trade
Have
out
to
now. Let's go.
at his
Have
price.
to.
Have to trade out.
Have to
Yep.
trade him.
I
He's an
agree.
easy.
Have to.
He's
Have
an
to.
e. I think he's the easy one if you don't have Chandler.
Yep. And that frees up like 50K nearly too, because he's
50K and
170 odd
Chandler's going to make
thousand.
at least 60. It's just that's a no-brainer.
Easy. Fergus Green's probably a little bit more complicated. Swizz already spoke about him as well. The Jack in the Box, 123K. Probably still does have a slow burn in him. Might get to 200. Is that 80K or 100K you might get off him worthwhile if it takes you 10 rounds? Chris, you're an out.
I've already traded him, but I'm not sure I would if I didn't need to. He actually scored 0-4, kicked 0-4 over the weekend. That could have been an 80 game. He played very well. If you don't need to trade him, don't. But if he's your only option to getting Chandler, then I'm okay with it.
Okay, so if you can, if
I'm
it's your
probably
only
50-50. Yeah.
yeah,
If
no,
it's
that
your only
makes sense.
option, yeah.
I'm 50-50 as well. I think he probably definitely has money to make, a little bit of fluctuation, and I think they're playing North as well this week, so it's not the kind of time I would like to get rid of him, especially when North don't have the highest of timber, and I think someone like him could actually get up the ground a little bit. And
Yeah,
who else?
I wouldn't trade him out, and that definitely not. He's
I think Asava has to be a
so.
first out. Would he be challenging Pedler for the first out of your side? Do you reckon
Well,
Asava?
Asava would be probably more owned, wouldn't he? So yeah,
32%.
yeah, he's again. Unless the hard thing with Asava is a lot of people have him at R3, so it's not as easy to trade him out unless you're bringing in Madden or waiting a week to see how Samson Ryan goes. Like Samson
Yep.
got a 72 this week. Now I don't think he's going to go anywhere near that against Collingwood, but if he was to go 70 plus, then can you hold Asava for one more week and then go and get Ryan? That's got to be considered.
I'm holding. The reason that you brought in Sava was for ruck cover. That doesn't change anything. So unless you all of a sudden have blind faith that Tim English is not going to pull another calf and do another adductor or groin or anything like that or get concussed, then sure. But no, I'm actually holding. Job security is even better now than it ever has been. Obviously, role has proven to not be amazing, mainly because Geelong have been absolutely smacked. But I mean, take a look at Geelong's run coming up. Obviously, it just turns a corner right now. So Geelong have Gold Coast this week, then Hawthorn, then West Coast. So the next 3 games are favourable matchups for Asava. I wouldn't be trading him. Not for me.
Interesting. And I also agree if Samson Ryan like absolutely tears it up this week, then at least get the 1 week.
Yeah, you at least get a 1 week.
Get a little buff, and that way you can always reassess. And if there's anything we've learned over the last week is wait 1 more week and do not bring in a Horn Francis after a week of data. Don't get rid of people like Hopper or Ashcroft after a week's data. Maybe just kind of wait it out a little bit. So I'd be taking that little bump to the pay rise before I move that on. Any other final rookies that you can kind of see on here, guys, that people might actually have, Chris?
Chesser. So I think
yes.
so. I've trading him this week. So he will be out of my team. I think that look, if you want to make cash, you're gonna have to pull a trigger on someone, and he's the one that I'm pulling the trigger on. However, I can see that sometimes he's just not going to fit into like if you need to make cash, he's not one you make cash from. That's the only issue. So if you need to make cash to make other moves, then obviously he's not one you can trade. But otherwise, he'd be first out for me in most teams. I don't think he's obviously now been proven that he's a low time on ground candidate. He got subbed last week, so he's potential to be subbed out and a sub risk. Yes, they want to get games into him, so they're still going to persist with this, but his scoring's not going to improve. It might be till the second half of the year that we don't see any real cash gen out of him. So yeah, 1 to go.
Yeah, if you keep him, it'll be like, oh, I'll keep him, he'll make money eventually. And it's like, yeah, wonderful. He finally starts making money at round 10, 11, 12. And you're like, oh, wonderful. I got cover for the buy for that 1 round. Easily sold, low score, low time on ground, subbed out of the game. So if he's subbed out, easily an option to be subbed in, and he is cooked. He might actually lose money. That's how poor he scored. So for me, if you ain't making money, you ain't getting honey. So you get 0 court time. You can get the fuck out of my team.
Nice.
One that I'll bring up is, and I agree with that with Chesser, is the 10% own Ben King, and it's exactly what I said pre-season. The early conditions for up in Gold Coast aren't going to suit him, especially with the teams they play up there. So that's why, the 19 first week, the 70 under the roof against Essendon, plays Geelong, again, slippery conditions up at the Suns this week, probably goes 20 again. And then, you're going to get that. So I think if you're looking at trading someone down, he's the one. I know he's got the 70 in his score now, but I don't think he was a good choice. Chris?
Yeah, one more is Bodie Hewland. I think he probably goes this week, unfortunately. So it's going to be between him and Ben Long, in my opinion, as to who goes out of that team. Unfortunately, he's just come off a bad week, and obviously Long's a little bit more experienced, even though I personally think that Long was way worse. I thought it was the worst in their defensive line by an absolute mile. But yeah, it might be, say, just because based on experience, Ulan's the one that goes out, and I do believe that that's the case. So just watch team sheets for that one. But yeah, he obviously is one. If he's dropped, then I wouldn't be holding him. I'd be moving him on.
And finally, Comben is one that we did
Oh.
say wait a week. Wait a week, because this guy did, even though we love him and we know he's best 22 and he's very valuable to North in their structure, he also went negative in the preseason. And that's hard to do. Play a full game, 80% time on ground or whatever it is, and go negative Supercoach. And he backed up a lot of time in the ruck. Goldie's come in and looked like he was great. Goldie didn't need much of a chop out. Goldie was happy just tailing up and forcing Darcy into a negative Supercoach at halftime. And so he scored 12 Supercoach points. So that is a massive fat no. And if you have him, I'd be probably looking at getting rid of him, as equally as Chesser would probably be the first two I'd be getting out of my side if I had those two players.
Agreed.
What are your thoughts? The last one for me would be Miller Bergman.
Bergman.
I don't even know where he's in this list. Hold on, let me scroll.
ASL, age, sex, location. What
He's,
team?
2.3% of teams. Okay,
minus
so
37.
relevant.
He's got minus 37 break even, just plodding along in the 50s.
Not interested. I mean,
is he 50,000? Is this cricket Supercoach? I'd be interested for that, for 50s for sure.
He's basically Wilmot, except not. Like, are you trading any of those?
Also, is Will not?
Yeah, no, I like it. No. I don't think there's any way you can get him in with he's only defender only. Yeah, you're not trading anyone to him.
That rounds us up for the rookies. Moving on, we go into the mid prices, where the arguments will probably extend.
Oh, did we say about trading out Goda? Because he's still highly owned. He's like 15%.
He's fine. He's scored 57 and
50s and 50s. He's 192,000. So I think if you could free up cash,
price.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you just I'd wait a week and let him go up a smidgen, and then I'd just go Bose, throw some cash at him, and I'd kind of put that into my plans now.
I mean, the only reason why you would trade him if you didn't get McKenna.
Yeah. Or you'd wait a week.
Or you wait a week, have a look at Crozier, and try to leave enough cash to get to Crozier or Bose.
Yep.
Agreed. I think that's pretty much it. That can be a next week monitor. And that wraps us up for the rookies, pretty much the ins and outs, the maybes, and the sideways twisted extended conversations. That's it. Next, we have mid prices, and the fun will get real. It's a Set a Goat special. We'll see you then. Bye.